welcome back to Biomes. This week we are talking about Gomantong Cave in Malaysia. The Gomantong Caves are a large limestone cave system that is located on the island of Borneo in Malaysia. It has two main caves, the Black Cave and the White Cave, and both of them have quite the interesting assortment of animal life. Due to the fact that these are caves and not one of those very large caves like the Sondung caves I've talked about before in Vietnam, there's little to no plant life found here, so we're just gonna skip over that part. The caves are home to a wide assortment of bat species, with one of the most common being this guy, the wrinkle-lipped free-tail bat, as well as this cute little guy, the large-eared horseshoe bat, and my personal favorite of the bunch, the fawn leaf-nosed bat. Now, these bats are an incredibly important part of the cave ecosystem. Their droppings, or guano, which is literal just bat shit, it falls from the ceiling where these bats roost at night to the cave floor, where it feeds pretty much the entire rest of the ecosystem. They're also an incredibly important part of the rest of the food chain via eating insects like moths and mosquitoes and being eaten by other things like snakes and birds of prey. The other main vertebrate inhabitants of the caves are a bunch of different types of cave swiftlets, a type of bird which roost and raise their young in these caves. This one up here is the white nest swiftlet. There's also the black nest swiftlet, and this guy, the mossy nest swiftlet. Now, what's interesting about these birds, other than the fact that they're very cool and they live in caves, is that their nests of at least a couple of the species are twice annually harvested by the locals to make bird's nest soup. And this is done relatively sustainably. Now, at least, there are laws in place to protect the populations of swiftlet. You're only allowed to harvest them twice a year with the correct permits, and you have to be specifically permitted to and trained to harvest these nests in order to protect the population of the cave swiftlets. Other vertebrate inhabitants include a few small species of snakes, such as this one, the cave racer, which preys on the swiftlets and the bats, as well as rats that live in the caves. There's also a few different spider and centipede species, including long-legged centipedes like this one and cave centipedes. But by far, the most abundant species living in these caves are the roaches. Specifically, Australian roaches. However, there are a few other types, but this cave is just absolutely filled to the max with roaches. Like, tourists have gone to this cave and have reported that pretty much every visible surface in the entire cave has roaches on it. Now, these roaches are an incredibly important feature of the cave ecosystem. They are a cleanup crew for the bat guano and any dead organisms like bats or swiftlets or snakes. They provide food for snakes and rats and other things. And as much as me personally, roaches scare me, I understand it. They are incredibly important, and while I probably personally will not be going to this cave because it is filled with roaches, they are still one of the most important features of the cave. Other invertebrates include this one, the Plecostoma mirabile, which is an incredibly endangered type of snail, which so far has only been found in Gomantong Cave. Now, the area outside the cave is also heavily protected along with the cave itself, and is a good place to find a couple other types of animals, such as this one, the fairy bluebird, which is found in the forests outside of the cave system. It's also a good place to spot the crested serpent eagle, which typically waits outside the cave until dusk and has a feast on the bats flying out of the cave. And the protected forest area is home to the endangered Bornean orangutan, as well as other primate species, including forest macaques. So overall, while kind of spooky and containing a lot of interesting animals like the bats and the centipedes and the roaches and the swiftlets, Gomantong caves are a very unique ecosystem and biome not really seen anywhere else in the world. It is open to tourists, however, you have to book specifically a tour with the local experts. You can't just go there, which is good because cave systems in general are very, very delicate areas, and too much of a disturbance will cause the whole ecosystem to collapse. Similarly with the bird's nest harvesting, tourism of the cave has to be done very specifically and correctly in order to conserve the cave ecosystem. So if you are going there, despite the roaches, make sure you are respectful of the locals, their culture, and especially of the wildlife and the cave itself.